So, Pathfinder is a fantasy tabletop role playing RPG. And what would a fantasy tabletop role playing RPG be without magic and spells? Now, there are various types of spells that you can cast within Pathfinder, but there is a specific spell type that's available to not only spellcasters, but some non spellcasters, and that is focus spells. Focus spells have changed a little bit in the remaster, so I thought we'd go ahead and talk about that. So, my name is Don. I'm trying to be the Sly Strategist, and let's go ahead and get into it. So, focus spells are a special type of magic that can be learned from a specific source. So, you can learn it from deity domain spells, certain archetypes, as well as classes, and the feats and features that you might get from those archetypes or classes. And the thing to remember is that you don't necessarily pick the focus spell itself, unlike you would as a normal spellcaster. You generally would choose the domain, the feat, the class feature, or whatever, and then you would acquire that focus spell because you chose the feat, feature, domain, or however you got the focus spell, but you don't necessarily get to pick the specific focus spell. So it kind of works a different way. Now, as mentioned in the beginning, focus spells are not limited to spellcasters. A good example of this would be the Ranger Warden spells like Magic Hide. And at this example, Magic Hide single action, you are going to see that it is going to say focus one as opposed to feat or spell or another descriptor. It's uncommon, focus, manipulate, and ranger traits. Range of 30 feet, targets your animal companion with a duration of 1 minute. And the description is your animal companion grows a thicker hide, matted fur, or a harder shell, granting it a +1 status bonus to AC. So, this is just to show you that it is not just limited to spellcasters. There are other ways, other means that you as a player character can use magic within the game. Now, focus spells are cast using a special pool that is called your focus points. Because of this, and because once again, they're a separate class of spell, you cannot prepare a focus spell in a spell slot. They are held in a totally different area, and the resources you use are called focus points that are in your focus pool. Now, there are some limitations. You cannot cast a focus spell if its minimum rank is greater than half your level rounded up. But when you cast a focus spell, it will cost one of your focus points. And you can regain points in your focus pool by performing a refocus activity or resting and part of your daily preparations. Now, one of the new additions to the remaster is that you can refocus multiple times to regain multiple points up to your pool's maximum. And although you do get a focus point for the amount of focus spells that you have, the maximum is going to be 3. But let's go ahead and talk about this refocus activity. So it is an exploration activity. That's pretty important because it takes 10 minutes and it does require the concentrate trait. And the requirements are that you have a focus pool. The description is you spend 10 minutes performing deeds to restore your magical connection. This restores 1 focus point to your focus pool. The deeds you need to perform are specified in the class or ability that gives you your focus spells, and these deeds can usually overlap with other tasks that relate to the source of your focus spells. And they have a really good example, and one that I personally use a lot, which is, for instance, a cleric with focus spells from a holy deity can usually refocus while tending to the wounds of their allies. So generally speaking, it's not something that you would have to add on in the cleric's case, or anybody who is doing healing might be able to refocus while they're doing treat wounds between encounters. So a spellcaster's focus spells are the same tradition of spell as the class that gave them a focus spell. Good example of this is a cleric is going to be divine, or a druid is going to be primal. A non-spellcaster's focus spells are usually determined by the ability that gave them the focus spell. And if you have focus spells from multiple sources, you have one focus pool, not a separate focus pool for each source. And because of that, you can spend your focus points on any of your focus spells, regardless of their source. Now, having focus points from multiple sources doesn't change the tradition of your spells. As mentioned earlier, and the example from the book in this section, is that cleric domain spells are still going to be divine, and a druid's order spell would be primal. So you need to use the attribute modifier determined by the source of the focus spell whenever you're trying to cast the spell. Now, I hope this little quick tip on focus spells kind of gave you a little heads up to some of the changes. Once again, the big one is that refocus allows you to refocus however many times you would like in order to get back to the limits of your focus pool, which is still 3. However, it's only 10 minutes. In the past, you would have had to use a focus point to refocus. But if you happen to use all your focus pool in the middle of a combat, well, then you could never get back up to the limit until you did your daily preparations. But I do hope that you liked this video, and if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, or hit that notification bell. But whatever you do, I hope you have a great day and happy adventuring. Thanks.